They laughed at him. Whispers turned into chuckles. Chuckles turned into mocking smiles. Everywhere he went, eyes followed him, not out of admiration, but out of ridicule. To them, he was just another poor farmer, walking around in dusty boots and a faded shirt that looked like it had seen better days. His clothes didn't speak of luxury, his hands carried the marks of labor, and his face was hardened by the sun. People judged him instantly. They didn't ask who he was, they didn't wonder about his story, and they certainly didn't treat him with respect. They only saw what was on the surface: simple clothes, rough hands, and an appearance that didn't match the standards of wealth or prestige. And so, when he entered the grand gathering, an event filled with wealthy businessmen, polished politicians, and influential figures, he stood out for all the wrong reasons. Men in tailored suits raised their eyebrows. Women in glittering dresses whispered behind painted smiles. "Who let him in here?" someone muttered under their breath. "Doesn't he know this is an elite circle?" another sneered. To them, he didn't belong. But what they didn't know, what none of them could have possibly guessed, was that this farmer, with his worn-out shoes and plain shirt, was not just wealthy, he was the richest man in the entire country. The irony was bitter and beautiful at the same time. Those who mocked him had fortunes that would barely scratch the surface of his wealth. The cars they bragged about, he could buy entire factories that built them. The mansions they flaunted, he could purchase entire neighborhoods. The businesses they discussed so proudly, he could acquire with a single transaction. Yet, he never carried himself with arrogance. He never wore the cloak of pride. Instead, he chose humility, simplicity, and an appearance that deceived the eyes of the judgmental. He understood something they didn't, that true wealth doesn't need to scream for attention. True wealth doesn't need to sparkle on the outside. The farmer carried himself quietly, knowing that respect built on appearance is temporary, but respect earned by character is eternal. And while they mocked him, he smiled. He knew something they didn't know, and in time, the truth would reveal itself in a way no one could ignore. This is the story of how a simple farmer, underestimated and ridiculed for the way he looked, revealed to an entire nation that he was not just successful, not just wealthy, but the richest man in the country. And more importantly, this is the story of how he taught everyone a lesson that would echo for years. Never judge a person by what they wear, because beneath the simplest clothes could lie the grandest fortune. The farmer's name was Abdul Rahman, and his life was nothing short of extraordinary. He was born into a humble family, raised on principles of honesty, hard work, and patience. Unlike many others who inherited wealth, he started with nothing more than a small piece of land and a determination to build something greater. From a young age, he tilled the soil with his own hands, planting seeds in fields that others considered too dry, too infertile, too useless. People mocked him even then. They said he was wasting his time, that farming could never make a man rich. But Abdul Rahman didn't listen. He believed in patience. He believed that success is not instant. It grows, just like a seed that takes time to break the ground, sprout, and eventually bear fruit. Years went by, and while others ran after quick profits, Abdul Rahman invested in the land. He bought more acres, worked harder, and reinvested every small earning into expanding his farms. Slowly, those useless lands turned into lush fields of crops, fruits, and vegetables. His farms began supplying to entire regions, then to other countries. His vision grew bigger than farming. He built food processing plants, export companies, and logistics businesses, all rooted in the same soil that people once mocked. Still, he lived simply. He didn't wear expensive suits, he didn't drive flashy cars, and he didn't flaunt his wealth. His philosophy was simple: money is a tool, not an identity. He valued character over appearance, and hard work over empty pride. And that's why, even after becoming the richest man in the country, he still walked in public wearing the same farmer's clothes. He saw no reason to change who he was just to impress people. But the world around him didn't understand that. One incident exposed the reality of how people judge by appearances. It happened at a national business summit, a place where billionaires, politicians, and foreign investors gathered. Abdul Rahman attended in his usual attire, plain clothes, old boots, and a modest watch. The moment he walked in, conversations paused. People stared. Some laughed quietly. They assumed he was a worker who had entered the wrong place. A group of young businessmen openly mocked him. One even offered him money for proper clothes. But when the host of the event announced the keynote speaker, the room fell into silence. To everyone's shock, the poor farmer they had mocked was introduced as the richest man in the country, the owner of the largest agricultural empire and the biggest private employer in the nation. The same people who laughed earlier now stood up in applause. Their arrogance turned into embarrassment. Their whispers turned into praise. And in that moment, the lesson became crystal clear. Wealth is not always dressed in luxury. True success is often quiet, humble, and hidden beneath simplicity. Abdul Rahman walked to the stage, smiled at the crowd, and began his speech. He didn't boast about his money. Instead, he talked about values, about patience, hard work, and humility. He reminded everyone that wealth without character is empty, and respect built on appearance is fragile. That day, the audience learned a lesson they would never forget. And long after the event was over, his story spread across the country as a reminder that mocking someone based on clothes or appearances is not just shallow. It can blind you to greatness standing right in front of you. They mocked the farmer's simple clothes, not knowing he was the richest man in the country. His life proved that humility shines brighter than pride, and true wealth is not about what you wear, it's about who you are.